Mic check 1 2. What is going on, everybody? Today, make sure we got the right camera going. Cool. All right, today we are going to be diving more and more about this. What exactly are you asking for? How are you going about getting what you want when it comes to a relationship, whether it's romantic or friendship? But there's a lot of things, pieces that you have to put together. To backtrack, just to kind of recap, last week we talked about different ways that you can get unstuck. This week we're looking at different ways that you can start inviting more of what you want, specifically in a vein of something that starts as a friendship that can grow. Now, kind of closing this week out, I'm really trying to get this going for 5 to 7 days a week. I would love to do 7. That's what I'm aiming for. Thank you for bearing with me as we get this started. I'm your host, Vernon Brown, and we are the Happy Meal Diet, showing you health, happiness, and everything in between, giving you daily tips, daily reminders, motivation, lots of inspiration, so you can get unstuck, freed up, and go after exactly what you want. All right, so the big topic today is, are you being congruent? When I say congruent, what I'm saying is what you're asking for, are you projecting that? Are you making sure that whatever you're asking for, is that alignment with who you are? Oftentimes, incongruent communication is one of the reasons why people are kind of like, something's up. How congruent and incongruent things show up. Many times you'll see people who wear these fancy colognes or perfumes and, all these things that mean that people want to get close to you because they have to smell these things, right? But are you being congruent where you're giving off such positive energy? Are you making eye contact? Are you smiling? Or are you putting yourself out there to really say, I want you to be close. I'm inviting you to be close with these great scents, but is my communication, is my energy, are the vibes also inviting that? That is a big thing you need to consider. If you want someone nice, are you being a nice, warm, and welcoming and inviting person? Because oftentimes people might say things like this, and I hear this a lot from clients. I would be nicer. I would be more approachable. I would smile more if I see the right person. Or I would be more feminine. I would be more masculine if I meet the right guy, gal, or whatever, however you identify. And things like this are incongruent. What you're saying is, I'll give you something only if you give me something. That's essentially what it boils down to. And what you want to do, and what I'm challenging everyone to do, and this is something I've seen over my lifetime, and in a more professional environment, as a happiness coach for entrepreneurs, I've worked with just about the whole intro again, is whatever you're putting out there, are you truly asking for it? And if you're saying that you can be feminine, masculine, kind, flirtatious, friendly, and things like that, are you really living that? Are you making it easy for people to talk to you? Oftentimes, from the business owner perspective, people are wanting more leads. People are wanting more conversations. And for people to get through these next upcoming months, it's going to be about collaboration, connection, and also inviting different ways of communicating, different ways of doing business, different ways of understanding. When I first started out in my business, one of the big things that I did was, and this goes with being congruent, but I'm going to definitely, really shift this towards relationships, is that I wanted to have this big conglomerate of people that I knew, that knew me and I knew them, and we looked out for each other. But what I was doing was I was isolating myself. I was not putting myself out there enough. I inviting just more people to be in my network and more people just to be with me. And so I'm sitting around, for 2 or 3 years, just frustrated. Sure, I was doing well. Sure, I was making making ends meet, but I wasn't thriving the way I wanted. And that's because I was kind of playing that permission game. I will be a connector. I'll be a collaborator. I'll be that if you do. And that's not the way things work. You need to be willing to give before you get. And that's the step 1 with congruent communication, being congruent. If you want that, you need to live it. You need to be it. I am the biggest person now, an advocate of connecting, of collaborating, of seeing what I can do to help, seeing what I can do to be in service, to seeing what I can do to maybe provide something that can benefit people. Why? Because that's what I want. And the romantic level, in those years and for a time period, it was, I never seemed to attract women. I couldn't do it. And I couldn't figure it out. I knew I was nice. I knew I wasn't too nice, and that's a whole nother conversation. But I knew things just didn't make any sense to me. That I was this on paper, but in reality, was I living that? And I could not understand it until I sat back and I started looking at a lot of the things that I was doing. I didn't catch it at all. I didn't. And I started paying attention to how's my facial expression when I'm walking out? If you're anything like me, I'm one of these people that I wear my emotions on my face. And before I kind of looked at that like, oh, I can't do anything about that. When in actuality, I can. I didn't feel as though I could, but I actually could do that. Why was that a big issue? Because I would look at it as almost if it was this state, this place where I could not smile. When the reality was, I just need to practice thinking, oh, Vernon, put this top of mind, smile. Oh, Vernon, put this top of mind. For anybody else who's kind of had this issue, you might have heard things like this, like, you should smile more, which drives anybody up a flipping wall because it's not a permanent smile thing, but it was something that I needed to work on. If I wanted more people to pay attention to me, more people to smile, I needed to do that. But it became an awareness thing. I cannot stress to you the client that I'm thinking of, and actually, I did a video with her that's on YouTube right now, and she was looking for more ways to attract guys. And she did a really good job of putting herself in the way of getting that guy's attention. But what was getting her thrown off was, it was, again, this incongruency. Hey, I look funny. Hey, not funny. I look like I'm, fun to hang around. I got this positive energy, but you're not talking. Ladies, y'all have got to do a little bit better. This isn't all. I'm not one of those, thick-headed people. But ladies, you've got to do a little better because guys don't know what to do. I am a guy. And I'm telling you now, I work with, primarily women, but oftentimes when I am working with men, it's guys don't know what to do. So we just need a little help here. And this with the congruence. I know that you're smart. I know that you're really fun to hang around. I know that you have so much to offer. But if you're not giving us direct eye contact and really saying, hey, guys will miss this completely. Do I miss it now? Absolutely not. But in the beginning, I did. And this is not an age thing. This could be an experience thing. This could be an exposure thing. This could be a geographic thing. Because if you've moved and it's harder to talk to people. So ladies, help a guy out. Guys, you got to make sure you're doing this as well. Sure, you're smart, you're endearing, you might be tall, dark, and handsome, however you might identify. But if you're walking around with your head down and not making any eye contact, how do you expect someone to interact with you and know these things? You've got to live the message. One of the reasons that people are stuck here is because everyone's sitting there waiting for someone else to do something, waiting for someone else to lead the pack. You have got to do it. This is the part of congruent communication. You got to be the message. You can't just say what you want. You don't judge a tree by the fruit, by what it says it's going to grow. You judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. So are you bearing fruit that is allowing people to say, man, this is a really good soil. This is a really good product. And I'm not trying to commoditize you, but I'm just kind of using that metaphor to say, talk is cheap. Talk is so cheap. But are you being congruent? Are you extending an olive branch? Are you making the first move? Is what I'm summing up and saying if you're picking up on this. And there's too much fear. Too many people are worried about not getting points because it didn't work out, because you might make a fool out of yourself, because he or she might say no, because he or she could say they might not like this or that about you. And it all boils down to this fear of rejection. That's what it all boils down to, because it's some way, shape, or form. And I'm not trying to be reductionistic. I'm not trying to sit back and try to pathologize people. But if you weren't worried about things not going the way that you wanted, or excuse me, I think a better way of saying this, if you knew that things would go the way you wanted, wouldn't you do it? And the obvious answer here is yes. But if you're not, I'm willing to bank in some way, shape, or form that you're worried about rejection. And I'm here to tell you, you get points for trying. When you walk up to someone, when you're just putting yourself out there, maybe not asking asking them out on a date, maybe not saying, hey, let's hang out, and do the adult thing. But just by even just saying, hey, you get points for that. People will say no. People will say, I'm not sure. People will say I'm not available just to say it. If you're in sales, if you have any sort of sales training, we all know that people would just say no out of habit. Why? Because it ain't got nothing to do with you. I'm here to tell you, if you're worried about being congruent, but you're also worried about being rejected, oftentimes it has nothing to do with you. As beautiful, as attractive as that person may be, as opportunistic as you could see this relationship developing from more of a platonic standpoint, that does not mean that they don't have their own stuff to work through. But you get points by offering. So put yourself out there. Don't be afraid about that. Be congruent. You want friendly, you want inviting, you want assertive, you want someone who's inspirational, approachable. You have to be that first because you only get what you attract. So by that notion, if you put yourself out there more, you will be demanding. Attracting is cool, but it's very passive for me. And I'm such a big believer, and I get all my clients, if you want to be successful, you've got to get more on the offensive daily. You got to get more on the offensive, with going after what you want. If you want to true congruency and success, you got to do it. Go out there, get your points, and learn that it's really a lot easier now to get points than what I've ever seen. I was just having this conversation with one of my clients this morning. You get points, right, for trying. You're worried about rejection. I get it. But because we were kind of, sitting in place for a couple of years, a lot of people are really, a lot easier to talk to now. They want to have more people. Before you might have had a dismissive attitude, not so much. Explore it. Try it. And if you're not quite sure what to do something like this. Hey, hi, how are you? Nothing starts outside of a conversation. Stay in conversations, be congruent, and go get what you want. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Stay focused. Happy Meal Diet is here to help you, giving you health, happiness, and lifestyle tips to make life even so much sweeter for you. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Go after there and go get your happy and own your happy.